Wade is guarding Bryant. Artest looking, gets it to Bryant. Bryant dribbling, has to put it up with the buzzer. Banks it in! He banks in the three! And the Lakers win the game!
Good morning. What is happening? It is live from Austin, Texas, winning on Wednesday. We're here every Wednesday at 9 a.m. Looking forward to it. What is going on, my friend Joe Campert?
You're looking at it, baby. Another day, another dollar.
Another
we got
day,
Matt on
another
here.
dollar.
Good morning, Matt. How are you? Hey, guys, real quick before we get into this, just quick reminder, make sure and let StreamYard view your comments so we can get you up on the screen here, just like Mr. Matt Heath. How are you, sir? Thank you for hopping on this morning. Good morning, everybody. Hope everybody's having an amazing start to the week. No, I'm doing great. We've been, got back from Vegas last week. Had a little catch up to do, but Vegas was awesome. Shout out Justin Brock, Medicare Con, but this week, just high activity in the office. We were talking about that earlier this week. Was just kind of, hey, anything ever is kind of going on in an office, or really in life too. Man, activity just freaking solves it all, dude. So we have just been super active. We just launched our new CRM, so that's my win. So we got Sales Pipe. Some of y'all have seen us demo that here within the group. Austin's been on the power dialer all day, so it's got a power dialer in there, and we're just dialing. And we're getting quotes off of. And you guys saw me. Any of our members saw my post probably a couple weeks ago. The 1, 2, 3. So the 100 calls a day, 2 hours talk time, 3 policies sold. 2 out of the 3 have to be done every day. That power dialer, man, we're hooking it up with a list from like 2017, 2018. And the first day Austin's on that list, he got 6 quotes out of it. So
Beautiful.
Everything we need to be able to quote. So it's, guys, outbound dialing ain't dead, right? It's not necessarily cold calling. It was like an age data list, but still from that old, damn near a cold call. But that's definitely my win is the Sales Pipe CRM. If you guys have not checked that out, go check it out because it's freaking sick.
We did a video on that, 3 or 4 weeks ago, something like that.
Yeah, I think it was a few weeks ago, before Ryan Reynolds, I think it was.
That was with Jeff
awesome.
Grimm. You can look that up in the group or on YouTube, but definitely, man, if you have any desire to look for a new CRM or you want to look for a better CRM, check out Sales Pipe. That thing is lights out.
It is. How you doing? How's
I'm
the week
doing
going?
fantastic, man. Week is going great. Similar to you, right? I was out all week last week at Medicare Con, having a great time helping host the event. Thank you again, JB, for putting on a fantastic event. I think we had 850, close to 900 agents there at the MGM Grand in Las Vegas. It was the biggest stage I've had an opportunity to MC on or work as master of ceremonies, which was a blast. Felt like I made an impact.
Killed it.
I got some good feedback, and so that was definitely my win for the week, is getting to go to Vegas and do that and serve the industry in that capacity. And then getting back in the office, dude, we didn't miss a beat. Just came right back in, pick up the phone, get to work, writing business, making things happen. We had a seminar yesterday, a little low on our turnout because of maybe the rain. I'm not really sure, but, still a good turnout nonetheless. It's all about the people that show up to your event. And out of the ones that showed up, 90% of them are going to be our customers sooner rather than later. So let's go.
Consistency, right? Consistency is key. And so I kudos to you, right? It don't matter, rain or shine, you're going there, right? Because you set it up, and you're, regardless of whether it's 1 or whether it's 10, right? Well, obviously we'd rather have 10 or 20 or 30, but
sure.
Well, even if it's just 1, we'll take it. It's not anybody in insurance, you guys know it ain't a matter of if, it's typically just a matter of when, right? So that's good, man. Well, yeah, it's good to be back in office. Good to have you back in office and rocking and rolling this week. Y'all, we've got an awesome show. I actually got to meet these gentlemen. I was trying to bounce Medicare Con early. I was like, well, if I'm just going to sit here and drink, like I could just go do this in the airport. And I'm like, then I'll just be there. And I was sitting in this lobby bar, and shout out to Ken who introduced us. And I was just sitting there, and these guys just kind of walked up, got introduced, and then I ended up spending like an extra, I think like 2-3 hours within the MGM, just talking shop, really just shooting the shit with these guys. And so they're really cool. I instantly reached out to them. It's funny, Tony, I know that you know them and they've been around in the space for a minute, and super excited to have them on. So without further ado, y'all, let's give a nice warm welcome to our guests, Mr. Milan and Steve. What's up, y'all?
What's going on, gentlemen?
Good morning.
What is happening?
Like Joe said, another day, another dollar.
Yeah, that looks like the Precision Senior Marketing Office with those windows and stuff. What are you guys doing? Where are y'all?
It's similar, but we're in the home office at Amerilife Marketing Group, and we actually took over Doug Stovall, the VP of Amerilife Marketing Group's office, really quick, because sometimes my video doesn't work, and I figured for the podcast you wanted to see our greasy faces, so here we are.
So you hijacked Doug's room, right on. Well, listen,
yes, sir.
We obviously know you guys. Some of our viewers probably don't know who the hell you are. So if you don't mind, just take a short minute, just kind of introduce yourself, let them know who you are, what you're up to, and then we'll dive in.
For sure.
Yeah, so my name is Steve Esch. I've been a marketer here at Amerilife. Going on November 1st will be 20 years. So 2 decades. I'll be 43 in October. So this has been my career. I mean, prior to this, I did have a stint where I've been in the lead business, but back in the day when Google was 25 cents. But long story short is I've been a marketer here, recruiting agents. Milan and I built a team focusing on call centers, selling over the phone. We're, unfortunately COVID hit, but with that being said, we took advantage of it and, it really spread our wings in a great way for, the business model that we focus on, bringing, the Sunfire platform, Your Medicare, which is white labeled, out to all the agents. But our main focus is recruiting agents, call centers, belly to belly. I mean, you name it, we do it. So, and again, we're lucky enough to meet Joe just sitting there. It's probably one of the best things that happened there. I mean, honestly, so I'm glad to be part of this. So,
yes.
Milan.
Yes, sir. This is Milan Fedorchak, been with the Amerilife Marketing Group going on 15 years in May. Steve actually recruited me to come. Him and I were friends outside of this for damn near 25 years plus. And I saw him out, and he's just like, dude, why don't you come try marketing? I was sweeping parking lots, doing asphalt maintenance construction, and going back to school, really didn't know what the hell I was going to do. And so I was lucky enough to see Steve out, and he's just like, dude, why don't you come try marketing? Showed me his W-9 or whatever 2 that year, and was freaking $230,000 in 2008, which was a so-called depression. Mm-hmm. And, here we are, fast forward 15 years later, focusing on very large agencies, call center distribution. And like to Steve's point, for when COVID hit, we were extremely busy just getting your traditional face-to-face agents comfortable selling over the phone, having the, availability for the Your Medicare Sunfire platform, and really just getting those agents comfortable, being compliant at that. So we've been marketing insurance for a long time, combined over 35 years experience. But everybody that's successful in the space always is like, man, I wish I would have started this shit sooner, because the sky's the limit, and it just don't stop year over year. We're continuously crushing it. But
yeah, and I was actually brought in by one of the original founders of Amerilife's son. So Don Bush, Gary Bush founded Amerilife. So
yeah.
We go way back. So
do I tell my win of the week right now?
Yeah. Let's get it. Weekly
my win of the week. We just secured a release for one of a very, very large operation that was on a traditional heat model, a heat model. We're getting them to see the light and the value of their book to be, the biggest, highest multiple. So win of the week is definitely getting that release in hand. They do 10,000 apps on the Medicare Advantage side a year. So I'm pretty stoked.
Only 10,000?
Yeah, and these guys didn't know the difference between a traditional model and then the heat model. They didn't even know that those contracts existed. So being able to show them that business model and the long term from, everybody gets into our Medicare space, for the renewals, and they're just like, oh, we own the book, and I'm like, oh yeah, Bubba. So we're ready to rock and roll. Keep them busy with that. Obviously trying to get caught up from Vegas. Shout out to Bobby Brock Insurance. Justin Brock. Don't really know those guys too well, but the more I get to know them, I know Merwin and you guys know them quite a bit, and a little bit closer, Bobby Bache as well. So just excited to be here, man. Just stoked to meet Joe. Kudos to Ken Brannigan for sure for connecting the dots, and I feel like Joe and I had a good connection. We shot the shit for
like we must have shared some metadata or something, man.
We docked up for sure.
That's the inside joke, yeah. Steve, you sharing that weekly win, or you got one? You got anything?
We're pretty much on that. We work as a team, so honestly, that's we just had 2 large groups in last. That's the name of the game. That's just one of the 10,000 shops that we deal with, but I think everybody can get there. So it's just if you're starting from scratch or starting there, everybody, it's all possible. So
absolutely,
that's
so we share our week of the win at the end of the day. Him and I have been. It's nice because, like I said, he recruited me in to come work for the company, and now we're actually partners. He was my manager, mentor. And I wish I would have got my head out of my ass sooner and really, put the pedal to the metal and focused on this a lot sooner. But hey, I'm blessed to be on the show, and blessed to be here, just breathing air.
Thank you guys.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
For those of you guys that out there that are watching this and you don't know, and you didn't pick up on some of the stuff they're saying, I'll just tell you in very short summary. The 2 guys that are sitting below this camera are 2 of the top marketers in the entire Medicare space. There are probably, and I'm guessing, I would say about 200 wholesale marketers that are out there calling agents, recruiting agents, distributing products. These guys are probably sitting in the top 5, guaranteed, as far as income earners. So we're definitely talking to some superstars, and I appreciate you guys taking some time out of your day to jump on.
Well, that's
thank you.
I want to.
Sure.
Can we start there? Because you guys, Tony, you're what, 18 in? And
19.
Steve,
this is my 19th year now.
19. So Steve's at 20.
Yep.
Okay.
November 1st, 2004 is when I started with Amerilife. So
let's start. Okay, you got 20 years into this damn thing. Obviously, you've seen some things change, right? And so have you, Tony. And I almost want to shut up a little bit because I'm not necessarily on y'all's side of things when it comes. I am, but I'm not. I'm not to that scale. I think we have our aggregator model, but it's totally different, I think, than what you guys are doing. I kind of want to sit there and Tony, maybe if you want to kind of bounce off them of just what are some of the things that, man, what like you have seen change in 20 years of doing this thing, but still, you said with COVID and stuff, my favorite word is pivot, right? It's never falling back. It's never, it's like, hey, we have to be able to pivot. What are some of those things that you've seen in the industry for the past 20 years where it's like, holy shit, like the internet, right? We pivoted, what are some of those things?
Honestly, the biggest pivot was really truly back in 08, 09. One of the, I've been here for Part D back in 06.
Prescription drug plans.
Sorry. I use acronyms, so excuse me there. But
you're good,
I was here when Part D kicked off. That was pretty wild. Honestly, we had back at the old Amerilife building, we had, going back, we had semi trucks pulling up with boxes of Part D apps. And paper apps. So going back, I'll never forget that. We were out there hustling the boxes into the office. Now, come COVID, and obviously leading up to COVID, the carriers, we're adapting slowly, but they didn't have a choice. So that was the next biggest change. The companies had to adapt. So that was, I hate to say it, but it was a blessing in this environment. And it really, the carriers had to adapt. Obviously, we have the Sunfires, the DRXs, all the platforms. And I really think that brought a great opportunity, for the clients, for the, for marketers, for agents, all the above. So, I could go down. 20 years is a lot, but those are some of the biggest changes. I could go back to 08 when private fee for service was big and kind of pulled away.
Being able to scale and write over the phone, touching more clients. efficiently, is just piggybacking. But
yeah, I mean, going back into, now we're expecting a hurdle with, some of the new changes coming. I mean, honestly, ultimately, changes bring opportunity. Everybody, you adapt, move forward. There's going to be new ways. Milan and I had a meeting with a group yesterday. It's going to be appointment setting with leads. I mean, so we're trying to get over that hurdle of 48 hours. I mean, there's chaos brings opportunity. Ultimately, that's what Ken Bush, Gary Bush's brother, always brought to us as marketers, and I strive by that. So
absolutely, yeah, you guys are of that group of us that have really watched the industry go from analog to digital, right?
Yes.
Like when you think of those first agents that you were recruiting back in 08, 06, back then, just like you said, it was paper applications.
Oh yeah.
There was
I remember
no
getting
e-app.
stacks of apps come in and FedEx boxes back in the any days. I mean,
yeah, I haven't ordered an agent's like hard copy supplies, paper apps, in probably 6-7 years.
Yeah.
But yeah, we used to just sit there and take the supply orders and doing it handwritten for the agents, faxing it in. But yeah, it's wild, that it all pivoted to electronic and digital, and it's been a blessing. There's no question.
I would also say that it's almost starting to go back a little bit. So take advantage of that too. I mean, I can honestly say that, don't give that portion up either. Being, your local agent, definitely take advantage of that environment.
Yeah, it definitely is pivoting back to more face-to-face appointments.
Not
not necessarily paper apps, but more getting back to the face-to-face model. Creates persistency, etc. There's no question.
Yep. Let's So you guys have obviously been doing that. How long have you guys actually been partners? When did you guys actually partner up?
Well, we built the internal team with AMG, Amerilife Marketing Group, back in probably 2016, 15. Yeah. So, and again, we focused, really, we focused on call centers. Now we're really focusing on just virtual sales, whether it be
hybrid model,
but we still operate on our own, but more so together. And so as a team, I want to say it was around 2016.
Yeah.
Can you share with us that synergy?
What's that?
Share with us that kind of synergy and what you got. Just kind of, I know when we were talking in Vegas, it's kind of like you guys have different roles, but it's all very complementary to what you guys do and your strengths. Kind of go through that and talk about a partnership there.
So, like I said, Steve recruited me back in 08, and he was my manager, mentor, looked up to him. And then, our mentor, Mark Graham, in call center model, nobody was really focusing on call centers. So it was honestly his idea, blossomed the idea of where, okay, let's start a team focused on call centers. So vetting these call centers, flying out to make sure it's not, a bathtub and they're with a dialer in it, just making sure they're legit, real people. And the synergies really just more or less the roles. The carriers know us. The carrier reps, carrier partners know us as Batman and Robin. So Steve drives the motorcycle. I just ride in the sidecar and just get shit done. But more or less, Steve handles, with his experience, handles some of the bigger conversations that I might not know the answer and he'll know off the top of his head. And then more on the day-to-day, just getting a lot of the admin stuff done, paperwork or whatever, just getting more or less cleaning. It's like we're bona fide. Me personally, I'm a bona fide janitor. If there's issues, problems, whatever, I'm pretty much putting out fires daily. But and that's pretty much it in a nutshell.
Yeah, it's really hard to explain, but we just work. I called him the PR guy when I first brought him on, and it's worked out great that way. I was like, at the time, we're both, single. Now we're both married, with, Milan just has a newborn. I have a 2-year-old, turning 2 the 28th of this month. So, it's just become, outside of work and inside work, we've just grown together.
Uh-oh. Oh, there they are. They all froze up for a second. Uh-oh.
They're like, damn, did we botch that or something, dude? me and Tony just staring at the screen. No, that's good, man. And I think because there's a lot of people watching too, and obviously, I have a business partner as well, right? And I think there's something with that, and even really just kind of my team, and I'm sure you guys probably bring this into your office as well, is that, and maybe I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm not. I don't really care because it's working well for me, right? Is that it's it's more than just being in business together. It is kind of that life doing the life aspect of it as well.
100%.
Right? It's like, hey, it's Hankey's birthday. They're like, we're going to do something today, right? Like I'm not going to have him all day in the office, even though, hey, could he be busy and in the office all day? Absolutely, right? But it's like, man, it's your birthday, dude. Let's go do something. It's more than just business, right? And I think that's needed. And I'm sure, Tony, again, you can attest to that. It's kind of even me and Tony's relationship is that, it is definitely more than just business. But I think that's what really brings the business to the next level, man. It really does, right? And how you guys are able to operate, at that pace, right? But really at that scale. So, I mean, and you guys have gone, really, because what were, I guess, kind of, could you share some of your numbers before it was like, all right, but now that we're going to call center, now it's like, because I'm sure the numbers went like this because of the volume play on that, right? Maybe break that down.
Yeah, we pretty much, so prior to that, that would have been 12 years prior to us forming the partnership together. I could tell you we probably tripled our numbers working together. And though, got to keep in mind, it's a 50-50 partnership. But with that being said, we've tripled what I did personally in 12 years and 6 years being a partner. So it just, the value there, and what I did, what we both did is, we recruited agents. You go into the Department of Insurance, you do your, whatever you want to, whatever your source is. But ultimately together, we've really, we've taken just the dynamic partnership and scaled it. Literally, like I said, we've done 3 times the numbers in 6 years compared to my 12 years prior.
What would you say we did on the, just asking him, curious to see, I know we've been so busy, like honestly, the numbers are a thing, but how many Medicare Advantage apps specifically did we do AEP last year?
Working with agents, 30,000 roughly.
Yeah, so
not more.
Steve and I
distribution?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
it's not more.
Yeah. So we do about 30% of Amerilife Marketing Group's.
Yeah. That's what I was going to say.
Because
they did around 100K, so that puts y'all right about 30% of the distribution.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah.
It's pretty ridiculous.
And ancillary, we've number one. We probably so far this year we're probably at what?
6 million.
Yeah, 6 million, probably 15,000 apps with just ancillaries through DVH, cancer, obviously MedSup. We're
shifting back, shifting back to MedSup quite a bit as well. A lot of people are, coming off that HEAP model, and getting over to, back to Medicare supplement. That was our bread and butter starting, honestly. And once again, it's for the residual aspect. Your average MedSup stays on the books for 5.2 years. You're always going to tack on a PDP. And if you get the trifecta and add a ancillary product as well, that's how we were always trained. And we don't like to leave anything on the table. We try to create as much value for our agents and the agencies, call centers, and just keeping them up to speed with compliance or, the new regs and just
lead partnerships. You name it. We
co-ops, with carriers, so we just trying to really just keep bursting at the seams, is trying to keep it all together for sure.
Right. What do y'all think is driving some of this big push towards call centers? That there's more of them popping up, and not even. And when I say call center, we're obviously not necessarily talking about the giant, 100-man rooms, 200-man rooms, but a lot of times there's 5 or 6 or 8 guys that want to get into a room, right? Call center, and they're doing virtual sales. Obviously, the internet's a big part of it. We know that, right? And we have these digital platforms, but it seems like more and more people are going in that direction.
They were, so it's starting to, the squeeze is getting a little tighter, and a lot of the 8-man shops. It's like, why go down that path of being an approved teledigital agency when you really don't need to anymore, because the carriers are vetting you, they're doing a monthly audit depending on the carrier. So it creates more, back end work for these large shops. But going back to the smaller mom and pops, those are some of the best ones. Once you start to get over like 35 seats, then you're traditional, your approved call center, but you have to go through the due diligence. getting them approved by the carriers. There used to be site visits. Now it's a virtual walkthrough. Just making sure they're doing the right thing for the client at the end of the day.
And also there's more of a, more of a one-on-one. I mean, people like to obviously know their agent. So, you can, with these larger shops, I mean, they're there to make a sale and that's it. They're not really there, in my opinion, not always, should I say. I mean, they're just sell. I mean, when you're selling over the phone and you maybe work a couple states, but you have that personal touch too. So I would definitely take that to your advantage compared to a larger shop. Just stay in touch with clients, do this, if it's, I mean, we had a meeting with a group yesterday. I mean, they're going to start doing videos, just so they can see the people, just
the appointment settings with the video aspect touch of it. So it just makes the agent look like a rock star, and just having that personal touch is priceless. But with going back, so with Sunfire going to be launching a voice signature as well here shortly. There's no real reason unless the carriers now force you to be an approved call center. And then you have to go down that rabbit hole of doing all the, policies and procedures, all of that stuff, making sure you have compliance in place. But if there's no need for it, let's fly under the radar until the carriers actually force you to be an approved call center.
Right. If I understand, because obviously there's a lot of, just like you said, there's a lot of regulations or there's a lot of check boxes that you got to check off to be a real approved call center, right? You have to have a compliance officer, right? That's stationed inside your building. You have to be a physical brick and mortar. There's all kinds of deals where nowadays, just like you said, with the tools like Sunfire, like Agent Accelerator that allows you to quote virtually, et cetera, you don't have to go through that. You can still be a call center, right? You can sell, whether you're a one-man shop or not, you can act as if.
Yeah, that's why we like to use the word hybrid.
Hybrid.
So that's I think that's come a long ways going back to what I was saying. Carriers are adapting better. The portals, even the system you showed me when we were sitting at Medicare Con. I mean, that was fantastic.
The sales pipe.
The sales pipe.
Yeah, I think it's beautiful.
So tools like that just make it that much easier. You just and again, but you got to have that. You got to have that stay in front of the client because again, these larger shops, they're not doing that. I can almost guarantee it.
Yeah, they're jamming it. They're jamming it. If they're getting a spiff for a certain carrier or product line or whatever, not necessarily like my wife was a, call center agent for Bobby Bache at Senior Healthcare Direct. And she is the top 3 agent consecutive year over year. We're blessed enough. She doesn't have to work right now with the newborn at home, but, her placement was, 30%, like one of the top in the country. If she came across a certain product line, she's like, dude, I can't touch it. And she's not.
If you do it, it's right for the client.
Exactly.
That's the whole name of the game. I mean, you're not gonna, and just, you're their resource. So.
Yeah. Some of those bigger, larger shops bring us down a little bit and just create a bad name for the AKA call center, model. But if as long as you're doing
Let's stay here. This is perfect because I can tell you guys are passionate about this, right? And what's doing what's right by the agent, but also for the client. So what makes whether we want to talk about the hybrid or the call, let's just say call center, but we can talk. We'll break it, whatever, right? It could be the under the radar call center too. Yeah. Okay. Tell us what makes those shops work, right? What are they doing differently, right? And or what are y'all doing differently, right? The value that you're bringing into these call centers, right? These telesales environments that are allowing them to find success. What are you? Because obviously you've seen so many different operations at this point in time. What are the ones that are killing it? What are they doing that's really separating themselves?
I would say the journey of the policy. It's not just a sale. They're now your
post-sale journey.
They're part of your book. I mean, so make sure they get their card. Make sure they
set the first doctor's appointment or dentist appointment. All that stuff.
Yeah, I mean you're their resource for to make sure that because last thing you want to do is call a carrier, start complaining. So just stay in front of them, help them. I mean, once they start using the plan, that's the adoption rate. If they don't know what they're doing, they're gonna want to go back to wherever the agent and or plan.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that is probably one of the biggest things is make sure they're using the plan. Once they start using it, they're going to typically stay. Correct. If they don't start, they're going to be like, whoa, where's everything? How do I get going? And that's the biggest problem with some of these larger centers is they don't do that.
Right.
They're just turning over rocks, getting the enrollment done and moving on to the next one.
Yeah. And I would add to that, you know, a lot of the groups that bring on in-house marketing, whether it's, you know, pay-per-click advertising, SEO, the keywords that are associated with that, you know, bringing them in-house, some of the accreted sales submitted to issued numbers are some of the highest in the country, you know, so that will set them apart from your guys that are just inbound and they're buying live transfers and what have you, or, you know, because the T65 market gets, you know, beat up quite a bit, and trying to get creative to get your in-house lead gen dialed in. And once that's dialed in, I mean, your accreted sales, I mean, that policy is staying on the books, and you take that a step further in that post-sale journey, just to Steve's point, to making sure, you know, they got their card, like Steve said, or setting the first appointment for the client, and using that plan, feeling comfortable with them and hand-holding them a little bit will keep your numbers, your accreted sales definitely on. Keep your clients on the books.
Yeah, it grows your book.
Yeah.
The name going back.
That's where the money's at, obviously.
It's the name of the
keyword game. Your book, not, you know, or somebody else.
Not somebody else's book.
Yeah.
Well, Tony's killing it on. He's got the lead gen dialed in right now. I mean, you were even you literally what you just talked about, Milan, is literally what kind of Tony is doing right now, where it's bringing it in house because he's got his lead gen. And Tony, you want to talk about that a little bit, where it's like, hey, I don't necessarily need to outsource this out here anymore because this thing is just dialed in, man. If anything, I should put more money into this, and just kind of bringing that in house. I don't know. I thought that was pretty spot on.
Yeah.
I don't know if dialed in is the right word, but definitely getting better and better every time.
That's dialing it in.
So, yeah,
I was giving some props, man. It's like,
thank you. But yeah, that's the challenge that any newer agent or agency goes through, right? Ultimately you need leads immediately, right? Because you got to be able to produce. So at some point when you first get started, you're having to buy leads somewhere. Yeah. And then some agents just get stuck in that path, right? And they become lead junkies. If they can't buy leads, they're up a shit creek, pardon my language. The savvier agents are working on that long-term marketing game of learning how to market themselves and develop their own lead generation in the background until those two intersect, and then they can get off the lead junkie.
Yeah, I can't tell you how many agents that I run into that think leads are just going to fall out of the sky. It's like, you guys don't want to invest into your business. It blows my mind. It's like, you know, it's in any business, you know, as we all know, you gotta put in money to make money. The leads aren't just you sell it to your family and friends. Oh, I got my license, and then just expect, you know, leads to just fall out of the sky, which is, it's mind blowing how many newer agents just think like, and that's why what I think 70% or even more, 80% of all 215 or 240 agents actually fail. It's because they don't market themselves. They don't spend the money on their business. This is your business. Like, the shit's just not going to fall out of the sky. There's no question.
But also be cautious of lead vendors, I can say.
Yeah. Like
I've been
100%
doing leads longer than I've been with Amerilife. So
and it's your traditional, I mean, I don't like to stereotype any of those guys. I mean, kudos to what they do, buy, sell, ping, post, you know, data, whatever you want to call it, and how they're doing their lead generation. But, you know, like I said, we've been to multiple leads cons and met, you know, a lot of the guys out there and girls, but it's wild to me. And it's going to be interesting how the new regs, you know, affect some of these lead vendors. And I don't put my neck on the line, literally never, for a lead company or even mailer. And not that I don't want to share my secret sauce, because, you know, that's what we do, is help agencies scale, grow. But it's been a crazy journey. There's no question.
So let's do this. I want to spend the last kind of tail end of the call on recruiting, right? So obviously, if you guys are making up almost 30%, if not more, of freaking Amerilife's freaking, I mean, that number is just insane to me, because I know how freaking big Amerilife is. So you guys are fucking huge. Let's talk about the recruiting side of that, right? So obviously, okay, hey, we've been doing it for this long, but in the past 6 years, obviously we've tripled what was done in 12 years. Obviously, that's because recruiting is a piece of that, right?
100%.
Let's kind of talk about some of that. And Steve, maybe if you want to kick us off there on just things that you guys think you're doing that are, again, separating yourselves, that are different. Hey, look, I'm trying to go out and recruit an agent. And I think it can apply across the board. You guys know I'm a PNC first agent, right? So, but I think a lot of these things are obviously going to be able to spread out. So what are some things that you guys are doing to go get freaking thousands of agents, right? Or operations that yesterday we picked up people that do 10,000 apps. Like, what are you doing to do that?
I mean, I'll steal it from them really quick. I mean, a lot of it is relationship.
I go, Steve, kick it off.
I get all excited and passionate about it. I'm like, shut up, Steve. But it's a lot of it's relationship. I mean, we've been doing it so long that it's more or less, these are the guys that you want to work with. They are dialed in. They know all the tricks from the trade. We've been doing it so long. But even going back to your onesie twosies, even, Steve's trained me fantastically on just how to pull lists from the Department of Insurance.
I would say the Department of Insurance is probably your best tool, in my opinion. And email is great, but there's nothing like talking to somebody personally on the phone.
Picking up the phone.
So, I mean, you can do, LinkedIn. I mean, but I've always been a component and still am of using the Department of Insurance. I mean, you got to keep in mind, it's really regular, the ones that have the tools, not all of them have them. Like Florida is a perfect example, though. Honestly, we don't really have, outside of some agencies we work with, a lot of agents in Florida, but their Department of Insurance is the best tool in the world where you can, not the world, but in the Department of Insurance world. But ultimately, you can, tag states, if they have non-reses, let's just say, for other states that aren't, that don't have as good of Department of Insurances. So, I mean, ultimately, that's always been my best resource to recruit agents.
Well, yeah, you can pull lists based off of carrier appointments. So let's say if a carrier has a Medicare supplement only, not like for example, like a Humana, they have U65, O65, or Mutual of Omaha. Yeah, Mutual of Omaha, for example, they have they have 18 product lines within that one over 65 contract, but being able to pull those lists based off of carrier appointments, you're calling that agent or agency or the guys that spend the money on advertising. Like, once again, going back to investing in your business, like doing advanced finds on Google or whatever. But to Steve's point, the DOIs are some of the best resources and tools to pull that list. And if this agent sorted by NPN and they got 5 of the carriers that are in our market, that guy's in the Medicare market. So you're going to call him and you're like, hey, sell Medicare supplement? No. I mean, we know, okay, what carriers you writing? We got a new product out there that's fire. We got agents that are going to come take your business if you don't pick this up. Or just little tricks from the trade that obviously one of the best over here is
if the carriers are listed, most carriers now do just in time. So they're selling. If you don't see them, they might be new and they might be great, but ultimately, if they're there 9 times out of 10, that's because they sold with the carrier. Now, that could work both ways. Obviously, they're already selling maybe with a carrier recruiting, but you just find something they're not, start building that relationship. Whether it might not be Medicare, it might be ancillary or life, but get in the door. But you can really narrow it down, and it'll tell you. I mean, obviously, if they have Mutual of Omaha, United World, Omaha Insurance, or Ascendo, whatever the case might be, they're selling, they're producing. So target that as well.
Yeah, because I mean, typically it's an 80-20 rule. A lot of marketers internally will hang paper just to fluff and make their numbers look good, and honestly, it costs us, our licensing, et cetera. It costs money to process those contracts. So finding the producers, like, it's rare that I'll hang a contract if there's not business with it. So just doing it strategically and very smart instead of wasting time. Because as we all know on this call and everybody out there, time is money, and you're out there screwing around, fluffing numbers. It doesn't do anybody any good. We're looking for producers, scale, grow, and let's go.
What was so you're talking about the Sunfire. So I know what Sunfire is, even though I know, again, I'm like Green, I don't really play in y'all's space yet, right? It's not a matter of if, it's just a matter of when. I'll eventually be there once I figure out this life shit. Oh, hey, I'll tell you, I got a little win. I forgot to say this, dude. I made John Wetmore. If you're watching this, dude, you know what Mutual of Omaha paid me on Monday, bro? $792. And I was like, hell yeah, I have no idea where it came from, but I was like, that's the biggest life check I've gotten, man. That was awesome.
Joe override in the house.
Right, the Joe override, but I only have 5 points. So I'm like, damn, somebody must have been issuing it. So now I'm thinking, well, shit, maybe I need to go back through and look. Hopefully,
It's probably
people are just
dead. Don't worry.
Yeah, I was
Yeah,
just
right.
gonna say.
It'll be gone
That
before you know it.
was actually a negative. That was like, oh damn, that wasn't a hyphen. No, so let's kind of. I wanted to go back to the Sunfire. So Sunfire, but you said you had something white labeled of Sunfire that's coming
Yeah,
out,
so
or what was that?
Yes, so Sunfire is so your Medicare is white labeled for Sunfire. So there's your Medicare now, and as well as My Medicare Bot, which is white labeled your Medicare Bot. So those are two tools that you can use as an individual agent sitting, at your house in your underwear, whatever, but you can literally sell over the phone compliantly, keyword Medicare Advantage. They're very specific to Medicare Advantage.
Yep.
A lot of the MedSup tools, they're coming. They're actually working on, I think, Anthem, Aetna, and Cigna right now.
Aetna's already there. Yeah, they're working on the carriers that have a Medicare Advantage spot on their contract, like the UHCs, the Humanas, Aetna. So those guys looks like they'll be first on the MedSup side. And you would think MedSup would have been the first platform because of the compliance and regs that come along with Medicare Advantage as opposed to MedSup. You would think that MedSup would be there first, but here we are like 4 years later, and they're still not there. The majority of them are supposed to be there by AEP this year, so we'll see how that goes. But I assume
it's the underwriting.
Yeah,
is the issue, right? Because not every
app.
MedSup underwrites identically. So how do you get a universal app for all MedSup products and get them all to approve it?
Correct. Right now they have the quoting on there, which is typically a hyperlink to the carrier backlink. But ultimately, ideally you don't want to have to move some screen to screen to sell. But they're working on it. But again, with MA, PDP, it's all there. Go straight to the carrier, log into the carrier, you see the app. You just watch, going back to just watch hopefully the money the client gets taken care of. But that's, that goes back to what I was saying earlier. It's done digitally. Make sure that the carrier is doing their job. You did your job with the sales and explaining the benefits and all that, but make sure they're getting their card. Call back. They're now your client. Get them on the, just make sure you're staying in touch with them, because that is definitely the most important part, because they will be getting other phone calls, or they already shopped, or they already, so it's not just you, obviously. So just stay in touch with them. I can say that so many times, and it will help you.
I had to put up this comment: is being in your underwear actually compliant? That's my new marketing post. And well, let's take the last 5 minutes of that, baby.
It depends on what you show.
So you keep talking about regs and compliance. Let's take we got a few more minutes here. Let's kind of stay in that space. What is coming out? Tony obviously he knows this too, or can share and elaborate, or maybe already has there within Tuesday training that he runs yesterday morning. But what's coming out? What are agents supposed to be looking for? Or even, hey, this is the new compliance thing. I know the texting and getting your phone number registered and all that stuff just rolled out a few weeks ago as well. I think that's impacting everybody as a whole.
Because everybody that's marketing through text message.
Yeah, from what I understand, they're bringing back the 48-hour scope of appointment specific to Medicare Advantage plans, so you can't enroll them on the spot. So for your high volume call centers, and we're trying to pick through because it's the proposed final rule. So it's like, I don't want to tell you wrong information or whatever, but from what we understand, they're bringing the 48-hour scope of appointment back. So you're not allowed to do, unless it's a walk-in, it's going to be different, but it's going to be interesting to see how agencies, call centers adapt. And if an unlicensed agent's allowed to take the scope of appointment, set the appointment for the client and the agent to do a Medicare Advantage enrollment, is one of the big kickers that's coming down.
But again, it's still not finalized yet.
The final proposed, so we'll see how it goes. But in regards to the scope of appointment, it'll be interesting once again to see if because some carriers, I'm not going to name, but some carriers are saying it's okay for an unlicensed agent, not the same person, to obtain a scope of appointment for the agent that's writing the application and the client. So that's one thing that is definitely coming down the
it's still to be determined, but
they used to do it a few years ago, as we all know, and it didn't want, our business was fine. And then obviously I think some of the call centers are making the industry it's more stringent, and it's just harder because of they're just jamming the app down the client's throat, even though it's not the best one for the client. But the 48-hour scope's a big thing from what I understand.
Yeah.
What was different a few years ago because we weren't writing MAPDs electronically.
Correct.
Right? When that 48-hour scope rule was in effect, everything was still paper apps.
Yep.
Good point.
So, and you, pretty much someone had to fall out of the sky back then for you to even write them an MAPD. They had to come in your office and beg you. You're like, sure, sign that, and I'll see you in 2 more days, and then we'll actually write it. Yeah. Now it throws a new wrench in the system because so much business is written telephonically. So then, how are we doing that scope? And you hit 2 points that I think are great that we're really looking for some clarification on. Number one, because they said that the only time you can get, or one of the only times you can get around the 48-hour scope rule is for walk-in business. And it did say face-to-face on there. So I assume that call-in doesn't count. So if someone calls into my office, they're like, hey, I want some business, right? Can I write it? I'm assuming, at least the way it's written currently, that I can't. I have to scope them, come back 48 hours later, and then
the verbiage. Yeah, the verbiage that they use is interesting because what is their definition of walk-in is really what I've read, and some of our superiors summarized. It's like so I'm sure there's going to be some. I don't like to even play in that space, but the gray area, I guess we call it. But it'll be interesting to see how it shakes out, and really, if they even put verbiage in there that fine tunes the definition of AKA walk-in, because in my opinion, there's all different types of walk-ins. There's going to be 100 ways to skin a cat. There's no question. But
also keep in mind too, if you're selling them other policies previously, then they're now your client. So that you got
the business relationship.
Take advantage of that with life insurance going back.
Meds up.
Wouldn't I still have to follow the 48-hour rule? Like, say if it's my client and I couldn't get them on an MA last year because they had a good plan, but I was able to write them a hospital indemnity to tighten it up, right? Something like that. And so they are technically my client. But when I call that person during AEP next year, because they are my client, I still have to follow the 48-hour scope rule then, right? I can't just, because they're my client, go around the scope rule.
Correct.
That's my understanding. Would that be right?
Again, that's still kind of getting finalized. I want to get that information, but ultimately it does help the situation, I guess, better. Obviously, so just keep that in mind when you're working.
And then the other point that Milan mentioned was, can an unlicensed agent trigger the scope?
Yeah.
So I was looking at my process yesterday and thinking about how we're going to adjust it when that 48-hour rule comes in effect, because we're hybrid telesale shop. We have a brick and mortar, but we're primary telesales. So I'm wondering, can my appointment setter, when he's calling our leads, can he send the scope out through Sunfire?
Correct.
Big open questions with the carriers.
And then the agent comes back in and signs off on it and runs the appointment 2 days later.
Yeah. Big questions out there for the carriers in these finalizations of these rules and regs that are coming out. No question. So,
sure.
So
they're the ones that have to manage it. Right. CMS just like, here's some very vague gray legislation that we want you to follow. It's like the onus is on the carriers to enforce it.
I guess when the final proposed rules are actually finalized, maybe not for, I'm guessing for 2024 September is from what we understand, but jump on another podcast and kind of give some more detail on the way we see it.
Sure.
And how it's going to affect your business or whoever's business that's listening, for sure.
Absolutely. Are you guys seeing as call centers, telesales, and hybrids, as that space is growing, do you feel like that's creating a vacuum for the agents that still want to do belly to belly and kneecap to kneecap sales? I think it's getting harder for them because they're getting out-marketed maybe.
Some of the bigger groups are going back to what they do, or what they started doing, like the ACA enrollment rooms, or, I've seen them try to pivot to Medicare, but they're purchasing and outsourcing all of their lead gen, and, your CPA in regard, they're through the roof. And as we've seen the evaluations of the large call centers,
which that's going to affect, that's going to be changing as well. On the lead side. So, there's lots of changes coming.
I think it's going to be pivoting back to face-to-face.
Good for the individual agent, the smaller shops. It's ultimately, I see it as a positive.
For sure.
So,
But yeah, I mean, it's growing, but then again, I think it's growing, but more quality call centers, like I said, doing what's right for the client. And we're seeing a lot pivoting back, like we said, to Medicare supplement, final expense, ancillary, and, you know, be a call center, and like, why? Like, it's just it blows my mind, because there's pros and cons to being an approved call center. Once again, sometimes the carriers will come to you and say, okay, I got 100,000 leads, whether they're med, whatever the case might be. The carriers will come and say, hey, I need a high volume call center to blast through these leads. And then, you know, but then again, the audits come with it, the CTMs, you know, the complaints, I guess you would call them, that, you know, and then I even had, one time a carrier gave us a list and it had a secret shopper in there. It's like, what the hell's going on out here?
Well, that's ultimately doing what's best for the client.
Right.
I mean, that goes back to that. I mean, if you do that and you communicate with them and you help them, and I mean, you build your book, you build your, you build your brand, and it helps you, build the client and referrals, so that's, I mean, it's just a
snowball.
Yeah. You do the right thing. Right things will come your way. So.
For sure.
Absolutely. Obviously, we do tens of thousands of apps through Sunfire every year. Are y'all getting much action on the My Medicare bot piece?
We actually talked about that yesterday a little bit. I mean, they're going to have this, from what we understand, the scope's going to be in there, so we might see more traction. But I think, some higher ups are not happy with it. But I think in my personal opinion, what I've seen, we've been trying to give them feedback to just make it more efficient. If it's a telephonic enrollment tool, okay, great. But we need to make it streamlined, because, we have way more agents using Sunfire than we do Medicare bot, from what I understand. But we've been trying to give them some feedback, what works, what doesn't. We don't want to be tied to them in regards to doing the scope. So it's like, it'll be interesting to see how many more people do utilize your Medicare bot in the future.
Yeah, and they're starting to have like a lead vendors pumped into it, which I think will help, going back to even some of the lead rules that are changing. So that is something that's unique, that sets itself apart from there. I mean, going back to 2018, I'm actually the one that brought the original, Ross Blair, before it was sold, Sunfire to Amerilife, just because of an old relationship. But I mean, Sunfire is probably one of the best things that happens to the industry. So,
and which we do offer for free. Which we do offer for free, just by being a licensed agent with Amerilife Marketing Group. Just saying.
This is how you recruit, y'all. You get on a podcast in front of thousands of people and say, "Hey, you get this for how much? You paying for that?" Yeah, it's $0 with us.
Well, and CSG actuarial.
And with that, so kind of hey, let's kind of take the last couple of minutes here. Before we wrap up, what's next on the horizon for y'all? What do you guys have? Sorry, Tony, I know that's typically what you ask. But what is next on the horizon? What do you got? Like, what are the goals out there? Hey, I'm trying to pick up freaking 1 million apps, right? Or something like that. What are you guys trying to go after now?
That's a good question, buddy.
They're like, dude, it's just another day, another dollar.
It changes every day. I mean, honestly,
that's a very, very good question. I guess a goal, I was actually talking with Steve about it this morning, and I think a goal would just be, with just 3 groups, is 30,000 apps. And that's not even scratching
the surface.
On top of what we're currently doing, trying to juggle and maintain, and potentially looking for, some admin support at the end of the day, because trying to juggle it all is probably the biggest challenge. And that's one of my goals, is to just stay organized, always trying to get back to my email within 24 hours. I always take pride in that. But I mean, the goal is to just stay afloat and raise a happy baby, and, try to juggle, try to juggle family as well as work, because we're so passionate about it. It's hard to turn off my brain. Right. When I get home and not fire up the laptop, and she's watching the Kardashians or some shit, baby's sleeping, I'm firing up, I'm working, you know what I mean? I don't watch this shit, so.
Same.
I love it, dude. Well, I guess after you've been doing it for, 20 or 15, 20 years, it's kind of just like, dude, we're just going, dude. We're just getting after it.
It's never stop. I mean, exactly. Working all the time zones. I mean, it's constant. So
Right. So how can people reach out if they do want to talk to Milan or Steve? Hey, we found, and honestly, man, I don't know if you guys have been seeing the comments I've put up. Everybody has been posting how much value they got in this stuff. I don't know who this Facebook user is, but they're commenting a lot. For some reason, I think it's Ken, but I don't know. But he typically is one that does not let StreamYard view his comments, so that might be him, because he said with the baby too. So who knows? I think that might be him. But hey, how can people reach out to you? How can they find you? How can they set up a call, touch base, whatever that might look like?
Good question. I mean, I can give our office line quickly right now, which is 800-531-1411. And I mean, we're the only Steve in Milan. Just ask for Batman and Robin. They'll be able to get it routed to us.
If there's another Milan in that office, bro, I swear.
Yeah.
I mean, my email, I can give it to you, but it's kind of, my last name's kind of Slavic. So, I mean, it's M, my last name, which is Fedorchak. So M is in Mary, Fedorchak at Amerilife.com. And Steve's is S is in Sam, last name Esch, ESCH at Amerilife.com. We'll be happy to help you guys out. Any questions if you need top contracts, obviously based off production. But we have it all, everything from life insurance to ancillary. We're bringing back annuities, even though it's a different type of marketer that focuses on annuities. But once again, we don't like to leave anything on the table, and whatever type of value and knowledge we can bring to the table, we're always here for support.
We're happy to help too.
Yeah, no doubt. If you guys need anything, obviously Tony's got it dialed into, I'm sure. But if you guys need anything, man, we're always here. Any questions, whatever you guys need.
But definitely need to get you guys back on an episode again. I would like to talk to y'all more about some of the new requirements that are coming as they finalize their proposals a little tighter, right?
For sure.
One of the things, and obviously we don't have time, but the TPMO to TPMO lead transfer stuff, like that's going to be really interesting if they end up enforcing that. Yes. Right now they're leaving it out there, but they did say they plan to address it in the near future. So that's going to be a game changer, I think.
No doubt.
And probably just tell some stories. I could tell y'all some stories because we've all been around about the same time frame in that group.
Yes,
y'all brought up Mark Graham earlier, and it immediately reminded me that Mark Graham one time fired me with the wave of a magic steno pad. We just walk in the office like, you're all fired.
He took my hat because they hate it when we wear hats here. He took my hat and cut it with the paper cutter, and he's like, "Don't wear this freaking thing."
That was before it was really corporate. So
yeah.
Way back
in the day, right on.
I could wear a Poon House shirt, and they're getting me shit for it.
Man. Well, thank you guys for coming on.
We almost made it all the way through.
But yeah, I mean, whenever you guys need us back on, we're happy to show or share any type of insight, and bring any kind of value to your listeners and whatever. We're here to help. So whatever we can do, whenever you guys want us back, just let us know. We'll be happy to talk.
Cool.
Definitely. 100%.
Thank y'all for coming on. Certainly tell everybody back at the home office hello for me. And,
for sure.
We'll definitely see y'all. Thank you guys for tuning in as always. We're always here on Wednesday, 9 a.m. and certainly glad to have you.
It's the peak of the week, y'all, right? It's Wednesday, right? We're keeping on going. And if anything you learn from this show right here too, is just do the freaking right thing, right? And when you do the right thing consistently enough, you'll be sitting in seats 15, 20 years from now. And I think I have to give you a shout out on that, guys. A lot of people will burn out before that. But when you do the right thing, right? When you put the client and the agent first, right? And then you do that consistently over a long time, you're going to be sitting in seats like this where you're making up 30% of Amerilife's production, and it ain't slowing down. So again, thank you guys so much. Everybody, syndicate members, go out there, get after it. It's all about winning. Thanks, y'all. We'll see you guys next week.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, gentlemen.
Bye.